Today, I will be using a full team of Pokemon based on characters from Helluva Boss. Special thanks to Great Lizard for the team idea. If you have an idea for a Pokemon team, be sure to comment below, and I will use it. And if you like this kind of content, feel free to subscribe. And now, without further ado, let's get right into the battles. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, lovely people. Today I am using a Helluva Boss team. I figured this team was inevitable. I already did a Has-Been Hotel team, and if you haven't watched that video, I highly recommend it. I had the most heinous Angel Dust set. So I'm leading things off here with my Choice Scarf Litten with Parting Shot, just to drop the Urshifu stats. And I had a really interesting set on that. I'll go more into that later. So into my Decidueye for Stolas. This is a bulky Decidueye. This is my Defogger on the team. I don't really, like, when it comes to Defog and Rapid Spin on my theme teams, I don't really run them sometimes just because a lot of the times, like, I don't really have a Pokemon that can even do that to begin with. So I needed it for this team because my team was super weak to, like, Hazards and Stealth Rock especially. So this Decidueye took a lot of damage from that Surging Strikes from the Urshifu. I nearly took half. I was wondering, is that Urshifu banded? I don't know. So the Electivire is going to come in. Electivire is a pretty spooky Pokemon to deal with just because it has really, really good coverage. Unfortunately, the problem is that it's very, like, slow and it's very, like, paper-thin defenses, even though you wouldn't really expect that from a Pokemon that looks like Electivire. On this Decidueye, I had Roost Defog, and I had Giga Drain and Shadow Ball, just for, you know, my 2 stab moves. So the Electivire is going to swap out. The Flamethrower didn't really do as much to me because I'm specially defensive. And into Corviknight. Now, I figured I wasn't really going to win this 1v1 versus this Pokemon just because of the fact that my Shadow Ball really didn't do a lot and it could always just, like, roost stall me. So I'm going to swap back out into Millie. I will say, Millie and, like, Litten, they look exactly alike, almost exactly alike, just because of the, you know, the red, the black, and the yellow eyes especially. So the Corviknight does go for the Drill Peck. It actually is running a Mirror Armor, and that should deal a lot of damage to me. So Electivire is going to come back out here. I went for the Fire Blast. I'm running a Special, and I missed, though. That would have, oh man, that would have done a lot of damage because, like, well, I mean, this Fire Blast is going to do a lot of damage. I actually get a lucky burn, but I would have been able to 2-hit KO the Electivire with a Litten. That just goes to show how puny Electivire is with its defenses. So unfortunately, my Litten is going to get taken out there by the Electivire, but it's actually a mixed Electivire, and I'm able to get a lot of damage off to it at the very least. Now into my Houndoom for Blitz. Now I am running Flare Blitz just because it's Blitz, right? So I figured I had to do that. So this is a physical Houndoom. I'm running an Air Balloon on this because a lot of my team was really was kind of weak to ground as well, and I could also avoid, like, spike damage. I have Trailblaze on this as well to boost my speed. Actually, now that I think about it, a lot of the Pokemon on this team were running, like, Flame Charge and, like, Trailblaze, even though those are, like, absolute, like, sham moves. So they had both Urshifu Dark and Urshifu Rapid, by the way. This is really interesting. So I had to pivot around this Urshifu because I really didn't have a lot of good switches to it. So I went out into my Decidueye to bait the fighting move, and now I went into Luna here, my Lycanroc, anticipating, like, a Wicked Blow or something to come off, and I knew that I could, like, probably live it badly and I could revenge KO it with the Play Rough. I pivoted around that Urshifu so well, in my opinion. So there goes that Pokemon. That was a huge threat to my team. Into Corviknight now. Now, I'm going to get off some Stone Edge damage. It does a lot of damage, which is good. And I'm going to get taken out by Steel Wing. But that's fine. My Lycanroc put in a really good amount of work. It's pretty much the only thing that could have reliably handled that Urshifu. Now, into Stella. Now, I will say, there's a character that I wanted to include on this team. I think his name is, like, Pizzarelli or something. And unfortunately, I couldn't because, like, there's, like, no clown Pokemon in this game whatsoever. Like, I almost went with Miraidon for Pizzarelli, but, like, I think, like, obviously, like, Blacephalon is, like, the premier, like, best Pokemon choice for him. That's who I would have chosen if that was even in the game anyway. So I actually get, like, a super nasty crit versus that Toxtricity, which allowed me to take it out, which is crazy. Now, I don't know how much it mattered because I'm actually running an Endure Weakness Policy Swanna on this team. This is a Trailblaze, Liquidation, Acrobatics, and Endure. Now, as for my Terra option on this, well, you'll see that later on in the video, so stay tuned. So I'm gonna go for the Endure versus the Mewtwo jump scare, and it's gonna go for the Side Strike. I was hoping that it would have like Thunderbolt or some coverage to hit me super effectively, but like I needed to, I didn't really have much for this anyway, so I'm just gonna go for the Liquidation. Oh my god, I got another crit with this thing, but they went for the recover. What the heck? So that, I guess that cancels out the critical hit that I did to it, but I guess, you know, they can't really recover forever because Liquidation is eventually gonna get defense drops, like right now. So the Mewtwo's just gonna take me out with a Side Strike, which is fine. Like Swanna, it's really fun using Swanna because Swanna, like, it doesn't really have any like good setup moves at all. It just has its coverage. So into my Houndour. This, oh my gosh, I couldn't. There was no Pokemon with Moxie that fit Moxie, unironically speaking. So I just went with Houndour. Now I know that the Helluva boss characters are imps, and I could have used like Morgrim, but I think that like I really like Houndour and Houndoom just for both of them for like Blitz and Moxie, just because of the fact that it matches their color scheme, and they're still like Hellhounds. It still fits thematically. Now the Urshifu is going to Terrasilize into a fighting type. I wanted them to go for the Surging Strikes because I had Destiny Bond on this set. But like, I was like, oh man, they Terrasilize into a fighting type. They're probably going to go for a close combat or something. But they do go for a Surging Strikes. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, this is good. I had Focus Sash, which is why I was worried, because if they went for like a close combat or something, then my Destiny Bond would have been like for nothing, because I would have just lived on my Focus Sash and then outsped it. So I'm gonna fate that due to the Surging Strikes, and I'm actually gonna be able to take out the Urshifu Rapid Strike with that thing. Oh my gosh, that's actually so good. So I had a really interesting set on that. I also had Flame Charge on that, and I had Comeuppets Counter and Destiny Bond. So back into my Stolas, I was like, okay, well, I actually have a good matchup into this Mewtwo. As long as I could live like a Side Strike, I am like fully specially defensive. They go for the Shadow Ball, so I was like, okay, that's super effective. I'm able to tank that, thankfully, because of my specially defensiveness. And I'm gonna go for the Shadow Ball here versus the Mewtwo. It doesn't really have a lot of health back, health back. What? And then that's gonna be able to take out the Mewtwo, which is good. So I was like, okay, well, what their last Pokemon is like an Electivire that's super burned, and this Corviknight, and like, I knew that I probably wasn't gonna be able to outspeed it. It might be more of an offensive. It might be more of an offensive Corviknight, if to be honest. I'm like my narrative is pretty scuffed right now. When is it not? So I'm gonna go back out into my Houndoom. I was like, well, I can outspeed their last two Pokemon maybe. So I'm gonna go for that Flare Blitz with Blitz, and I'm gonna take out the Corviknight, which is nice. So the last Pokemon, actually, when I was doing this battle live, I actually completely forgot about this Pokemon in the end. I was freaking out because I saw that they had like one Pokemon left, and I was like, oh my gosh, what do they have left? I completely, because I thought I took this Pokemon out. Anyway, so I have I'm running Terra Dark on this Houndoom because I'm running a Flare Blitz, Crunch, Sucker Punch, and Trailblaze, and the Terra Dark is gonna allow me to boost my Sucker Punch damage and also my Crunch damage. So that's gonna be enough to take out the Electivire, thankfully, and that's going to be the end of the first game. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and here's the second game. Now this second game was pretty wild. I dealt with some absolutely crazy Pokemon on this team. So the opponent is gonna lead with the Urshifu Rapid. Again, another Urshifu Rapid Strike. What the heck? So I'm gonna intimidate that Pokemon, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I can outspeed and party shot it, but they go straight for the Aqua Jet. That almost takes me out completely. That Intimidate drop actually saved my behind. Now I'm gonna swap out here. I was like, well, I don't really have a lot to deal with this. Like, I don't know what it's gonna do or anything. And I went into Luna. Now, look, in hindsight, I have no idea why I didn't go into my Stolas here. I completely like neglected. I guess I just wanted to get some play rough chip. I knew that I could live like an Aqua Jet or something badly, so I wanted to just go for the play rough to get as much damage on this as possible. But they ended up going for close combat afterward. I was like, oh shoot, that actually took out my Luna. That's super unfortunate. Oh my gosh, I will take complete credit for that misplay. That was on me 100%. Now I will say I have done a has-been hotel team, if I hadn't said this already. And if you you know what, I actually think I pretty much mentioned this before, but seriously, I do recommend you check out that team, and also subscribe if you like these Pokemon Theme Team videos, just because of the fact that I'm very close to 400, which is crazy, and like I have a lot more planned, especially for Pride Month. So stick around. So in comes me and I was like, oh my gosh, this my opponent has some really heinous Pokemon on their team. So I opted to sacrifice my Litten because it was on a very low amount of health, and like the rest of their team was like super like of course, they had like Uber Pokemon, so I didn't really find the need for Litten. It wasn't really gonna outspeed anything. So into my Houndour. Now I had Comeuppance on this set. Now Comeuppance is a move you really don't see often. What it does, it basically functions like counter and like Mirror Coat, where you do 1.5 times the damage your opponent does back to you. And it's not like counter and Mirror Coat because like it's not negative priority, so it relies on the opponent outspeeding me. So I'm gonna take out the Meat-Eye with the Comeuppance, which is great, and now the Reshiram is gonna come in. Now I was like, okay, well, this thing is probably gonna outspeed me, but I'm just gonna go for the Destiny Bond anyway versus it. And I actually outspeed them, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's actually wild, because now I'm gonna be able to get 2 KOs with the Houndour versus this team. That's actually so, I did not expect to outspeed them. So my Houndour is gonna go down there, but the Reshiram is gonna go down with it, which is actually super nice because this Pokemon was very problematic versus my team. So, well, it's a Reshiram, of course it's gonna be. So anyway, swapping in my Swanna now. Now, this Swanna actually was going to be key in this battle. I actually terrestrialized it. So in comes in the Cross Madon Wings. Oh my gosh. So I'm gonna go for the Endure. I was thinking maybe they had like Meteor Beam or some super effective coverage versus me. They have Hyper Beam though. Hyper Beam. Oh my gosh. So I was like, okay, well, I can swap in my Dolus versus this thing to like take a Hyper Beam, you know, but I knew that Moongeist Beam was gonna do a lot of damage versus me, but I am specially defensive, so I figured that I might be able to tank one badly and then go for a Shadow Ball and get some really nice damage versus it. And I do tank the Moongeist Beam, which is nice. So I'm gonna go for that Shadow Ball. I wasn't expecting to take it out because I'm not running any special attack investment, but I do a really good amount of damage regardless. So they're just gonna revenge KO me with the Moongeist Beam. So I was like, that's fine. I could probably go on to my Houndoom, but like they had another Pokemon in the back that I was very like worried about, and I needed to get like some kind of chip off versus. So I'm gonna go into my Houndoom. I'm gonna go for the Trailblaze this turn because I was like, well, if they do take me out, then I could get another Trailblaze off of my Swanna and hopefully get some good damage versus one of their Pokemon that can outspeed me. They actually don't go for the Hyper Beam though. I thought they would go for the Hyper Beam. In the battle, I was actually low-key hoping to get taken out by that just so I could set up my Swanna, but that's fine. I'm able to take out the Crossma. You know, you can't blame me for making that mistake. And I'm gonna go for the Trailblaze to take it out. Now, this was a Pokemon that I was worried about because I needed to outspeed this Pokemon and get as much chip damage as I possibly could versus the Koraidon. So I'm gonna go for that Flare Blitz in the sun. It actually does a lot of damage because of that critical hit. So that's good. I actually got the most amount of damage that I could possibly get versus this Pokemon, and it's going to go for that collision course, and that is absolutely going to set me to it's gonna send me back to hell. Actually, I should have just said this earlier, but like I had Destiny Bond on the Houndour, and that's actually a really fitting move for the Helluva Boss series, you know. Anyway, into Stella. Now since this is Stella, I was like, okay, you know what, for the funny, I'm gonna run Stellar Terra Stella. So I have Stellar Terra on this because I was like, well, if I'm running weakness policy, you know, I would still want to retain my typing and get like, you know, that increase in damage to all of my moves, which is nice. So I'm gonna go for that Stellar Terra boosted Trailblaze. Nice. So it's still not gonna do anything, but the crucial thing was that I got the speed boost, and they had a really bulky Pokemon in their last slot. So I needed to stall out the Sun turns as well because I had my liquidation that I knew was probably going to be effective, but like the problem with this Koraidon was that I had to use my Acrobatic versus it just because like it was like doing way too much damage, and I knew that I couldn't take it out with like the liquidation because the sun was still up and the Trailblaze was you saw how much the Trailblaze did nothing. So the last Pokemon is Terrapagos. So I was like, oh, it's cool to see this Pokemon being used. So they hadn't terrestrialized their Pokemon yet. So I was like, well, this Pokemon is absolutely going to terrestrialize. And it's going to be the Stellar Terra, of course, because that's the only Terra type this Pokemon can terrestrialize into. Now, this was interesting because since I was Stellar Terra, if they go for a Terra Starstorm, it would actually activate my weakness policy. I'm going to go for the Endure again because I need to stall out the Sun. There's only one more turn left of it, and they do go for the Terra Starstorm. I was like, good, this is really nice. So, that's going to hit me super hard. And this Pokemon gains HP when it terrestrializes, though, so I was like, I don't know if I am gonna be able to take it out, but I am gonna do a lot of damage at the very least. It just needed like a critical hit or something maybe. So I'm gonna get that weakness policy activation. This was the final turn. I need to get off the liquidation. I need to take out this Terapagos. And unfortunately, liquidation does a lot of damage, but it fails to take. Oh my gosh, it fails to take out the Terapagos, and they're gonna take me out with the Terra Starster. But damn, I got super close in that battle versus all of those legendaries. So I hope that was an entertaining battle, and I hope you enjoyed this Pokemon theme team and the picks that I had for it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. My name is SkyLaaa. Don't forget to smile, and I will see you all next time.